Namaste and welcome to Daily News Simplified, the what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we would be analyzing the Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper of 24th April 2018. Now, let us begin. Now, we have taken this article from the editorial page on page 9. Now, what this article talks about is the Asian ripple effect, wherein China, Japan, and India are cooperating economically with each other in what the author calls a post US world order. Now, let us first understand as to what is meant by the ripple effect to get a better understanding of this article. Now, ripple effect means the indirect effect that is caused by an action or event which subsequently causes several other events beyond its original target. So, within this article, what the author is trying to focus upon that the protectionist measures that have been adopted by the US President Donald Trump has caused several ripple effects, wherein it has caused Asian countries such as India, Japan, and China to seek further market access among themselves, wherein the main Asian economies, China and Japan and India, wherein Japan and India are deprioritizing their geopolitical rivalries with China and increasing their geo-economic engagement. Now, hopefully, up till here, you have understood that according to the author, the protectionist measures adopted by the United States have caused a ripple effect wherein the Asian countries such as Japan, India, and China are seeking further market access among themselves as a mean to balance the lack of access to the United States. And therefore, the main Asian economies of China and Japan and India have deprioritized their geopolitical rivalries and have increased their geo-economic engagement. And for this, the author gives an example wherein when Donald Trump levied steel and aluminum tariffs on Japan, the Chinese vice president reached out to Japan and a strategic economic dialogue between Japan and China was quickly formed due to the threat of US sanctions on the steel and aluminum markets. Now, according to the author, this can be seen in the recent reset of ties between Japan and China and between China and India. And moreover, according to the author, the ASEAN countries are also prioritizing their economic engagement with China, Japan, and India. And this can be seen in the recent RCEP negotiations. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've also understood that the increase in geo-economic engagement between the main Asian economies of China, Japan, and India can also be seen in recent reset of ties that has occurred between Japan and China and between India and China. And according to the author, this reset of ties can be seen as a ripple effect of the protectionist measures that have been adopted by the United States, which has caused the Asian countries to seek market access among themselves, and because of which Japan and India have deprioritized their geopolitical rivalries with China and increased their geo-economic engagement, and which in the recent past has caused the reset of ties between Japan and China and between India and China. And similarly, the ASEAN countries are also prioritizing their economic engagement with China, Japan, and India, which can be seen in the recent RCEP negotiations. Now, with regards to your UPSC syllabus, it would be placed in GS Paper 2 in the International Relations sections within the subsection Effect of Policies and Politics of Developed and Developing Countries on India's Interest, wherein a practice question to critically examine the geopolitical and geoeconomic implications of the recent US protectionist measures on India. And the explanation given in this section and the editorial would help you in answering a part of this question. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 12. Now what this article talks about is that China has asserted that India and China are guardians of a multipolar world. Now this article should be seen in continuation of the last article on the Asian ripple effect, because both of these articles focus on the same theme but with different aspects. So let us first understand as to what is meant by multipolar world. Now, a multipolar world is one in which power in terms of military and economic capability is significantly distributed among three or more countries. And according to this article, India and China are new leading nations for globalization and for a multipolar world. And this is because the earlier vanguard, United States, which was earlier leading for globalization, has receded into protectionism. And therefore, India and China, which are the largest fast growing economies, require economic liberalization of world economy. And therefore, according to China, both these countries should focus on further globalization to safeguard their national economic interests. Now, hopefully, up till here, you have understood that according to China, India and China are the new leading nations for globalization and for forming a new multipolar world. And China has been asserting for this because the earlier vanguard or the leader for globalization, the United States, has receded into protectionism. And therefore, India and China, who are the largest, fastest growing economies, require further economic liberalization of the world economy to fuel their economic growth. And therefore, according to China, both these countries should lead globalization to safeguard their national economic interests. Now, the focus of this article and the explanation given in this section forms a part of what we had earlier covered in the last section and also becomes an additional aspect that can be used to answer the question that had earlier been formed in the last section. And so, with this, we move on to the next article. Now, we have taken the data point from page 9. Now, it provides the data with regards to the Global Finance Index, which is provided by the World Bank and is considered a database on financial inclusion. And according to this report, the number of adults who have entered the banking system in India has doubled in 2017 as compared to 2011. However, about 20% of adults don't have bank accounts as of 2017. And this database provides reasons for an Indian to not have a bank account, wherein the top reason is of insufficient funds, and the second reason is that someone in the family already has an account, and the third reason is of financial services are too expensive. Now, this list of 8 reasons for an Indian to not hold a bank account becomes important with regards to your civil services examination in GS paper 3 in the economic development section, more specifically inclusive growth and issues arising from it. So if I were to ask you a question as to what are the constraints for the success of the Jan Dhan Yojana, you can cite these 8 reasons as possible constraints for a person not holding a bank account under the Jan Dhan Yojana. And with regards to your prelims examination, who prepares the global Findex and what does the global Findex provide becomes important with regards to your prelims examination. Wherein questions on indexes have been previously asked in your UPSC prelims examination, such as in prelims of 2016 on who prepares the ease of doing business index, and similarly in the prelims of 2017 on who prepares the global gender gap index. And within that context, you would know that the global Findex is provided by the World Bank and is a database on financial inclusion. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 9. Now what this article talks about is fracking and talks about the risk involved in shale gas extraction. Now with regards to this article, the first thing that we'll understand as to what is fracking and shale gas, and then we'll try to understand what are the pros and cons of shale gas extraction. Now, gas and oil are unconventional natural resources which are found at roughly 1500 to 5000 meters below the Earth's surface. Now, this makes it different from conventional crude oil, which is found at 1500 meters. Now, the process of extracting shale oil and gas requires first deep vertical drilling, which is followed by horizontal drilling. Wherein, if you take a look at this image, the productive area which has productive shale, gas, or oil requires only vertical drilling. Wherein, if you look at the second image, the productive area of shale oil and gas is spread horizontally and therefore requires both vertical drilling and then horizontal drilling. Now, the most common way of extracting shale gas is through hydraulic fracturing, or what is properly known as fracking, wherein high volumes of water mixed with certain chemicals are pushed down to break the rocks and release the trapped energy minerals. Wherein a well is drilled and a mixture of water and chemical are pumped into the well at high pressure, and this high pressure then cracks the shale that is present, and the gases which are present between these shales are captured by the wellhead and then extracted. And hopefully with this you have gotten a basic understanding on how hydraulic fracturing or fracking work. Now the second aspect that this article focuses on is shale gas and oil extraction in India. Now, the government of India introduced a policy on shale gas and oil in 2013 and permitted national oil companies to engage in fracking. And under the first phase, shale gas blocks were identified in Andhra Pradesh, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Tamil Nadu. And moreover, the shale gas formations are spread over several sedimentary basins such as in Cambay, Gondwana, Krishna Godavari, and Kaveri Basin. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've understood the basic features of shale gas and oil and its extraction, and the policy of shale gas and oil extraction in India. Now, a question was asked in your UPSC prelims examination of 2016, which had asked in which of the following regions of India are shale gas resources found. Now, another aspect that you should understand from this article is the positive and negative impacts of shale gas. Now, the first positive impact of shale oil and gas extracting in India would be that it would be able to meet the energy demand of India in the future, which has constantly been increasing due to the high rise in economic growth in India in terms of fuel consumption, electricity consumption, among other factors. And the extracted shale oil and gas would be able to meet India's energy demand. The second positive impact would be that it would increase the oil and gas imports for India that India currently imports from other countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, among other, and thereby improve India's balance of payments. Now, third positive impact would be the shale oil and gas that would be extracted in India would decrease the prices of fuel and electricity, which also occurred in the United States after it started extracting shale oil and gas within its own country. Now, hopefully, you've understood the positive impacts of the shale oil and gas extraction in India. Now, let us understand as to what would be the negative impact. Now, the various negative impact of the fracking industry would be that it requires large amounts of water and would thereby increase pressure on India's water requirements and would impact the local irrigation and other local requirements within the area where such extraction wells are set up. The use of chemicals for extraction contaminates the local ground and water resources and has been seen within those countries such as the United States where the fracking industry has evolved considerably. The third negative impact would be that oil leaks in fracking industry is high and would therefore contaminate the local land and water resources. And the final negative impact would be that it increases the seismic activities due to the pressure on the ground that has been caused by fracking. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've understood the positive impacts and the negative impact of the shale oil and gas fracking industry, and therefore have a basic conceptual understanding as to the features of shale oil and gas, the policy in India with regards to shale oil and gas fracking industry, and what are the positive impacts and the negative impact of the fracking industry. And this section and the article becomes important with regards to your prelims mains examination when it would be placed in GS paper 1 within the geography section, more specifically the distribution of key natural resources such as shale oil and gas, and moreover it would also be placed in GS paper 3 in economic development section, more specifically in infrastructure, energy, and apart from this it would also be placed in the environment section in terms of the negative impact of shale oil and gas industry with regards to environmental pollution and degradation. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 5. Now what this article talks about is the recent GI tag for Warangal Dhurries. Now Warangal Dhurries are known for geometrically repetitive patterns and zigzag motifs, and dhuri is another word for carpets. Now apart from the Warangal Dhurries, another aspect that you should understand from this article is what is a GI tag. Now GI stands for geographical indication. Now it is a sign used on products. Now these products have a specific geographical origin and possess a unique quality and has an identity of reputation. Now GI tag in India has been formed under the Geographical Indications of Goods Registration and Protection Act of 1999, and the GI tag in India is administered Controller General of Patents, Design and Trademarks, and is also known as the Registrar of GI. Now hopefully up till here you have understood that the Warangal Dhurries have been given a GI tag and are known for their geometrically repetitive patterns and zigzag motifs. And moreover, you also understand as to what is a GI tag and that it is a sign used on product which meet the following conditions of specific geographical origin, possessing a unique quality and an identity of reputation. And moreover, you also understand that GI tag in India is formed under the Geographical Indications of Goods Registration and Protection Act of 1999 and is administered by the Controller General of Patents, Design and Trademarks, which is more popularly known as the Registrar of GI. Now, a question was asked in your UPSC prelims examination in the year 2015, which had asked which of the following has been accorded the geographical indication status. And in similar terms, you would also know that Warangal Dhurries have also been provided a geographical indication. And moreover, with respect to questions that are asked in art and culture, you also know the specific features of Warangal Dhurries. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 8. Now what this article talks about is the Human Genome Project and the Earth BioGenome Project in reference to your upcoming prelims examination. Now the Human Genome Project was an international collaborative research program whose goal was a complete mapping and understanding of the sequence of genes that make up humans. Now it gave the scientists and researchers an ability to link human genes to diseases, such as why certain individuals are prone to certain types of diseases or cancer while others are not. And moreover, the Human Genome Project also provided medical innovations in form of gene therapy, among other medical innovations that targeted the human genes to combat diseases. Now, hopefully, you have a basic understanding of the Human Genome Project, wherein its purpose was a complete mapping and understanding of the sequence of genes of humans, wherein it was able to provide a link of human genes and diseases as to why certain peoples are prone to certain type of diseases while others are not. And moreover, it also provided an ability for medical innovations such as gene therapy, among other. Now, the Earth BioGenome Project is an initiative led by Harris Lewin that aims to sequence and catalog the genome of all of Earth's eukaryotics. Now, eukaryotics is any organism or cell which has a defined nucleus, and this study would be conducted over a period of 10 years. Now, this project will create a new foundation for biology and will inform a range of major issues such as impact of climate change on biodiversity, conservation of endangered species and ecosystem, among other factors. Now, the Earth Biogenome Project would be considered as a digital library of collective biological intelligence. Now, one unique feature of the Earth Biogenome Project is that it would be using blockchain technology. Now, hopefully, up till here, you also understood the basic features of the Earth Biogenome Project, which is being led by Harris Lewin. And the purpose of this project is to sequence and catalog the genome of all of Earth's eukaryotic, which are organism or cell which have a defined nucleus. And this project would be conducted over a period of 10 years and would have a major impact on the conservation of species and ecosystem. And the Earth Biogenome Project is being referred to as a digital library of collective biointelligence or the digital library of life. And one unique feature of the Earth Biogenome Project is that the blockchain technology will be used. Now, questions on genome sequencing has been asked in the prelims of 2017, and within that context, the Earth Biogenome Project becomes important. And so now with this, we move on to the next article. Now we have taken this article from page 13. Now what this article talks about is the World Bank report Migration and Development Brief has shown that India has retained the top position as a recipient of remittances. Now remittances is the transfer of money by a foreign worker to an individual in his own country. Now an increase in remittances causes an increase in the national product of a country. Now the reason for the growth in remittances. Now the first reason is that there has been an increased economic growth in US and Europe, which have a large number of Indian citizens as foreign workers. Similarly, the rise in oil prices have increased the economic growth of Middle Eastern countries, which also have a very large number of Indian citizens as foreign workers. And the third and the final reason is the strengthening of the US dollar and the euro, which has invariably improved the value of the remittances that Indian citizens send to India in form of US dollars or the euro. Now, hopefully, up till here, you've understood that the World Bank report, called the Migration and Development Brief, has asserted that India still retains the top position as a recipient of remittances. And this is because there has been an increase in economic growth in the US and Europe. And similarly, because of the rise in oil prices, there has been an increase in economic growth in the Middle Eastern countries, wherein the US, Europe, and the Middle Eastern countries have a large number of Indian citizens working as foreign workers. And moreover, the strengthening of the US dollar and the euro has improved the value of the remittances that the Indian citizens sent home in the form of the US dollar or the euro. So, with regards to this article, what is significant to understand is what is remittances and what are the reasons for the fluctuation in remittances to India. And now with this, we come to an end in the analysis of today's paper. Now we move on to the question for today.